Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 7 just blew the roof off everything we thought we knew. This wasn't just another crazy ride, it was the kind of episode that makes you stop, rewind, and ask yourself, did that really just happen? Every second felt like it was building towards something wild, and by the end, it almost felt like we were watching a finale already. But here's the thing, it's not the end yet. That means Episode 8 has to somehow go even bigger, and after what just went down, that's almost hard to imagine. So let's break down all the chaos, the reveals, and the theories that this episode threw at us. Because Episode 7 wasn't just setting up the end, it was flipping the whole season upside down. The madness kicks off right where Episode 6 left us hanging, and the energy doesn't let up for a single second. The first big shock is how deep the Nazi Earth storyline actually goes. We all knew it was insane, but Episode 7 proved that it's not just a one-off gimmick. It's the key to how everything connects. Right from the start, we see that the stakes are bigger than just Peacemaker and his crew surviving. Now it's about which universe's rules are going to dominate. Because Argus isn't just exploring one pocket dimension anymore. They're looking at all of them, all 99 different worlds. And Episode 7 makes it clear that they're doing it for reasons way darker than what they told anyone else. Argus has always been shady, but this is on another level. And in the middle of all that, Episode 7 pulls one of its craziest twists yet, Augie. We've gotten used to him being the worst of the worst. But this alternate version isn't the monster we expect. Instead, he comes across almost reasonable, calm. It's like watching the same face, but hearing a completely different man. He's not defending the world he's stuck in, he's just trying to make it through each day, knowing how bad things are. And that difference matters, because it forces Peacemaker to face something he's been avoiding this entire time. The problem isn't always the world, sometimes it's him. That realization doesn't hit all at once, but Episode 7 plants the seed. From here, the episode throws us straight into chaos. Harcourt being arrested by Nazi Harcourt sets the tone immediately. And the jokes land even harder because they're mixed with pure WTF energy. Like Mein Kampf being on every desk and giant Hitler murals in the Capitol. The show keeps hitting you with those moments where you can't decide if you're supposed to laugh or be horrified. And that balance is peak James Gunn. It's ridiculous, but it's terrifying. And it works because it always makes Peacemaker look like the idiot in the room. He's the guy who somehow missed all the obvious Nazi signs. And the show doesn't let him off the hook for that, but as funny as some of those beats are, the danger never goes away. Episode 7 keeps reminding us that on this world, no one is safe. Adebayo being hunted down felt like a bigger, scarier version of the KKK chase back in Season 1, only this time. It's not a few masked figures in the woods, it's whole neighborhoods. Men, women, and even kids, all acting like they were born to serve this twisted world. The panic is real, and it makes Adebayo's near-death escape feel like one of the tensest sequences the show has ever pulled off. And then comes the wildest save of all, Judamaster shocking the entire pool. This guy has already built his reputation as unpredictable. But Episode 7 shows he might just be the most dangerous wild card in the series. He doesn't just save the day, he steals the whole moment. And speaking of Judamaster, this episode leans into him in ways that fans have been waiting for since Season 1. He's not just comic relief and he's not just a fighter. Here, he becomes the mirror for Adebayo and Peacemaker. While Peacemaker is busy running from the truth about himself, Judamaster is the one dropping the blunt facts. He calls people out, he exposes what they don't want to admit. And that's why his conversations with Adebayo hit so hard. When he tells her that her relationship problems are her fault, not her wife's. It's not just a throwaway line. It's setting up the bigger theme of the episode, stop blaming the world around you, and start owning up to your part in it. That's what makes Episode 7 feel so much like a finale before the actual finale. Every character is pushed into these moments where they're forced to face themselves. For Peacemaker, it's realizing that maybe he's been broken all along. For Adebayo, it's admitting she's the one causing her own relationship issues. And for Augie, it's about proving he's not just another version of the Nazi monster we already know. These threads all weave together. And they explode in the final act of the episode when Vigilante takes things too far. The second he dives through that window and stabs Augie, everything unravels. That's where Episode 7 truly becomes unforgettable. Because from that point on, it's not just about Nazis, portals, or pocket dimensions. It's about Peacemaker finally being forced to see himself for who he is. Watching his brother break in front of him again is brutal, and for a second, it looks like he's about to lose everything all over. The action is wild, the tension is through the roof. And the heartbreak feels heavier than anything we've seen in the show so far. And just when you think it's over, just when you think they might get a breather, the episode hits you with the final blow. Keith isn't dead. He's alive, he's angry, and he's ready for revenge. That ending doesn't just set up the finale. It guarantees that the finale is going to be the most painful chapter of Peacemaker's story yet. If episode 7 proved anything, it's that this show refuses to let the audience breathe. The second we find out Keith is still alive, the entire vibe changes. It's not relief, it's not closure, it's dread. Because now we know what's coming, a revenge story layered on top of all the chaos already happening. And the way the episode sets this up is genius. Keith isn't just alive, he's hospitalized, patched up, and surrounded by the kind of people who aren't going to stop him. If anything, his survival feels like a green light for more destruction. You can see it in the way the camera lingers on him. Like the show is telling us, this man is not done. Not even close. But before we even get to Keith's revenge path, episode 7 takes us on a detour that's just as explosive. Argus makes their move and suddenly the story zooms out from one broken family to the big picture. The reveal that they've been exploring other universes all along changes everything. Up until now, the multiverse talk felt like background noise, a side plot sprinkled in for comic book fans. But with episode 7, it becomes the main course. Argus doesn't just want power. They want control over all 99 worlds. And here's the chilling part. It's not about protection. It's not about safety. It's about weaponizing those dimensions. Think about it. If they can open portals at will, they don't just defend their Earth. They dominate every other one. And Peacemaker, whether he likes it or not, is the key to all of it. That's where things get messy. Because when Argus finally steps in, they don't just arrest people, they start cutting deals, dangling threats, and showing their cards. We get this eerie moment where Rick Flag shows just how desperate he's become. On paper, he's supposed to be the leader, the guy who keeps everyone together. But episode 7 paints him as a man on the edge, taking risks that feel less like strategy and more like panic. He knows Lex Luthor's technology isn't enough. He knows Argus needs Peacemaker's pocket dimension key. And he's willing to sell out anyone to get it. It's the kind of decision-making that doesn't just make you question his leadership. It makes you wonder if he's going to be the downfall of everyone around him. Meanwhile, Peacemaker himself is stuck in the most brutal mental battle of the season. Watching Keith break down, seeing his brother's life spiral again, forces him to face his own reflection. All season long, he's been running from accountability, cracking jokes, acting dumb, pretending that the world is the problem. But this moment strips all of that away, when he admits, even to himself, that he's been the broken one all along. It's not some heroic epiphany. It's painful, ugly, and heavy. And James Gunn doesn't play it safe here. He makes Peacemaker's realization feel less like a victory and more like a curse. Because now Peacemaker knows the truth, but he still has no idea how to fix it. And while all that emotional weight is crushing Peacemaker, the episode doesn't stop delivering pure chaos. The fight sequences in this episode are some of the most unhinged yet. We're talking back-to-back betrayals, sudden attacks, and moments that flip the whole power balance on its head. 1 second you think the team has the upper hand. The next second Vigilante jumps in and ruins everything. His stabbing of Augie wasn't just a shock, it was the trigger that set the final act in motion. And what makes it hit harder is that it didn't have to happen. If Vigilante had just held back, if he'd trusted the plan for once, none of it would have unraveled the way it did. But that's Vigilante, unpredictable, loyal in the strangest ways, and dangerous to even the people closest to him. And then there's Judah Master. This man continues to steal scenes like no one else. Episode 7 makes it clear that he's not just a side player anymore, he's vital. He's the one who understands the chaos better than anyone because unlike the rest of the crew, he's not caught up in morality or politics. He just calls things as they are. His dynamic with Adebayo especially shines here. The way he cuts through her excuses, the way he points out her flaws without sugarcoating anything. It's brutal but necessary. And it makes sense that James Gunn is drawing parallels between Adebayo and Peacemaker. Both of them are stuck in cycles of denial, both of them blame others for their problems. And both of them are forced to face the truth in episode 7. Judah Master doesn't fix their problems, but he sparks the realization that they have to fix themselves. And let's not forget the eagle in the room, Eagly. It might sound small compared to everything else, but the fact that even Eagly is portrayed as unreliable in this episode is no accident. He's always been Peacemaker's symbol of loyalty and innocence. The one creature that didn't judge him. But episode 7 twists even that, showing how useless he can be in real danger. It's funny, sure, but it's also symbolic. If even Eagly can't be counted on, then what does Peacemaker have left? It's those little details that make episode 7 feel layered. Like every joke hides a darker meaning just beneath it. By the time we hit the final stretch of this section, it's clear that everything is heading toward one giant collision. Argus wants the pocket dimension, Keith wants revenge, and Peacemaker wants redemption. But the cruel twist is that only one of those goals can actually be achieved. Someone has to lose, and the way episode 7 sets it up, that loss is going to be devastating. The question isn't if someone dies in the finale, it's who. Economos has a giant target on his back, Vigilante is reckless enough to seal his own fate, and Adebayo has been on thin ice all season. Episode 7 makes sure that no one feels safe, and that's exactly what keeps the suspense alive. So when the credits roll and we see Peacemaker back in police custody, it doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a warning. Everything he's fought for, everything he's lost, might not matter in the end. Because the war coming in episode 8 isn't just about Nazis or Argus or pocket universes. It's about Peacemaker being forced to kill his brother again. And if that happens, it's not just going to break him. It might destroy him completely if Section 2 was about setting up the revenge, betrayal, and emotional breakdowns. Section 3 dives headfirst into the paranoia that episode 7 builds so well. This is where the show stops being just about Peacemaker and his ragtag team of misfits, and instead becomes a chess game between forces that feel way bigger than them. You can sense it in every conversation, every choice, every unexpected twist. The walls are closing in, and no matter what Peacemaker does, he can't escape the fact that he's caught in the middle of something he doesn't control. The first major gut punch here comes when Argus flexes its full muscle. They're no longer lurking in the shadows or quietly influencing events. Episode 7 makes it crystal clear, they've been planning their takeover for a long time. The revelation that they already mapped out all 99 universes months ago is terrifying. It means they weren't reacting to threats like the Nazis or Luther's experiments. They were setting the stage for total dominance from the start. And the way this is revealed is chilling. It's not through some flashy speech or big showdown. It's slipped casually, like they're talking about the weather. That's what makes it scary. For Argus, universal domination isn't even a debate. It's just a natural step in their plan. And this is where Peacemaker finds himself stuck in the worst possible spot. He's not a strategist, he's not a planner, he's a guy who cracks jokes to avoid facing his pain. But Argus doesn't care about any of that. They want him because of what he carries inside him, the key to the pocket dimension. He's basically walking around as a weapon. And the irony is that he's the least equipped person to handle that kind of power. You can see how broken he is, how fragile his mental state has become. And yet he's the one holding the peace everyone's fighting over. It's like giving a grenade to someone who doesn't even believe in pulling the pin. But everyone else knows eventually it's going to explode. But the writers don't just focus on Peacemaker's personal hell. They spread the paranoia across the whole team. Adebayo is cracking under the weight of her own lies. She's still trying to live up to her mother's expectations. Still trying to prove she belongs in this twisted world, but you can tell she's drowning. And Judamaster calling her out in Section 2 wasn't just a moment of tough love. It was the spark that lit her spiral here. Every word she says feels like she's second-guessing herself, and that makes her dangerous. Because in a group this fragile, one bad decision can bring the whole thing crashing down. Then there's Vigilante. If you thought his stabbing of Augie was the peak of his chaos, episode 7 proves otherwise. He's not just unpredictable. He's starting to enjoy the chaos. There's a moment where you can see it in his eyes. The violence isn't just about loyalty or protection anymore. It's about the thrill. And that's a terrifying shift, because if Vigilante isn't anchored by his loyalty to Peacemaker, then he's just a wild card that no one can control. And let's be real, if it comes down to saving Peacemaker or saving himself, Vigilante has shown enough cracks that you start to wonder what choice he'd actually make. Economos, meanwhile, carries the quiet tragedy of the team. He's always been the dependable one, the guy who gets overlooked, the one stuck cleaning up the messes. But episode 7 hints at something darker for him. He knows he's a liability, he knows his skills don't stack up against soldiers or masterminds. And the way he looks at Peacemaker this episode feels like he's already accepted his fate. And that's what makes him such a prime target. When a show spends this much time reminding you someone doesn't quite belong, it's usually because their exit is coming. Whether it's Argus, Keith, or the Nazis who pull the trigger, Economos feels like the lamb being led to slaughter, and the suspense of not knowing when makes every scene he's in feel tenser. And then we come back to Keith. Episode 7 doesn't just make him a revenge-driven survivor. It makes him a mirror of Peacemaker. He's broken, angry, and obsessed with rewriting his own history. And the scariest part is that he believes he can. Unlike Peacemaker, who wallows in guilt and denial, Keith channels all of that pain into rage. He doesn't want redemption. He wants retribution. That makes him more dangerous than any villain we've seen so far. Because he's not fighting for control, power, or ideology, he's fighting from pure spite. And spite is unpredictable. It doesn't play by the rules, it doesn't negotiate. It just destroys whatever it touches. What ties all of this together is how episode 7 balances the paranoia with these subtle callbacks and layered symbolism. The show keeps reminding us of Peacemaker's core struggle, the cycle of killing his brother, the constant running from responsibility, the illusion of loyalty. Every time he tries to find comfort, whether it's in his team, his family, or even Eagly, the rug gets pulled out from under him. That's why even the lighthearted moments in this episode feel heavy. You laugh when Eagly messes up or when Vigilante drops a ridiculous line. But in the back of your head, you know it's all leading to something brutal. The comedy doesn't soften the blows. It sharpens them. By the end of this section, the paranoia has spread to the audience itself. You don't trust anyone. Every character feels like they could betray the others at any second. Every alliance feels temporary. And that's the brilliance of episode 7. It doesn't just show paranoia, it makes you feel it. You're second-guessing conversations, scanning for hidden motives, waiting for the knife in the back. And with Keith's looming presence, Argus tightening their grip, and Peacemaker on the verge of another breakdown, it's clear the finale isn't just going to be violent. It's going to be devastating on a level the team may never come back from. Because here's the truth, episode 7 doesn't set up a victory. It sets up a massacre. And the real suspense isn't about who wins, it's about who survives long enough to lose. By the time we hit this stretch of episode 7, everything feels like it's unraveling at once. It's not just the fights or the betrayals or the shocking reveals. It's the way every character is finally forced into a corner. The paranoia that's been simmering all season is now boiling over and no one's safe from it. And what makes this section so powerful is how the show stops giving the audience room to breathe. There are no pauses, no breaks, no comfort zones. Every scene feels like it's leading to another trap, another confrontation, another devastating loss. The episode makes one thing brutally clear: Peacemaker is not the hero of this story. He never was. The more you watch, the more you realize he's been the problem all along. His inability to face reality, his constant need to hide behind jokes, his blind loyalty to the wrong people, all of it has been poisoning the team from day one. Episode 7 rips that mask away. And the way it does, it isn't through some heroic downfall or a big flashy moment. It's subtle. It's in the way his team looks at him now. Like they've finally realized he's the reason they're falling apart. Adebayo doesn't trust him, Vigilante's loyalty is cracking. And Ikonomos looks at him with a mix of pity and fear. The man who kept saying he wanted peace at any cost is finally seeing that he's the cost. Meanwhile, Argus isn't slowing down. They tighten their grip with terrifying precision. Every move feels calculated, every line of dialogue feels like a veiled threat. And the scariest part? They don't even have to raise their voices. Argus doesn't need to flex their muscles, they've already won half the battle just by existing. Their access to the pocket dimension, their control over the multiverse map, their ability to flip allies with a single promise, it's all too much. They're playing chess while Peacemaker and his team are still fumbling with checkers. And that imbalance makes every attempt at rebellion feel hopeless. But then comes the twist no one saw coming. Keith isn't just after Peacemaker. He's cutting deals. Episode 7 drops this bomb in a way that makes your stomach sink. Keith, fueled by rage and pain, starts aligning himself with forces far darker than Argus. He doesn't care about the politics, he doesn't care about the bigger picture. He just wants Peacemaker destroyed. And if that means teaming up with Nazis, or trading information to Argus, or burning down entire universes, he'll do it. This revelation is brutal because it flips the brother dynamic on its head. For so long, Peacemaker's guild has been about accidentally killing Keith. But now, Keith's alive, and he's actively choosing to become the monster Peacemaker always feared he was. That's not an accident. That's betrayal on a whole new level. The emotional punch here is unreal. You can see Peacemaker's world collapsing as he realizes his brother isn't looking for reconciliation or forgiveness. Keith doesn't want healing, he wants Peacemaker's destruction, even if it destroys himself in the process. And this is where the show gets savage. Because suddenly, the one thing Peacemaker clung to, the hope that maybe his brother's survival meant a second chance, is ripped away. That hope is now his greatest curse. He has to live with the reality that his brother doesn't just hate him. He's willing to burn down the world to prove it, but it doesn't stop there. Vigilante's arc takes another twisted turn in this section. If you thought his unpredictability was dangerous before, episode 7 doubles down. He starts making choices that don't just threaten the mission, they threaten the team's survival. And here's the wild part, you can't tell if he's doing it out of loyalty, selfishness, or pure chaos. He's like a walking question mark, and every scene he's in, you're waiting for him to snap. The way he stares down Augie's aftermath, the way he mutters to himself, the way his body language shifts. It's all pointing to a man who's one step away from breaking completely. And the cruel twist is that when he finally does, it might not be in Peacemaker's favor. Judah Master, on the other hand, feels sharper than ever. He's the only one who seems to see the bigger picture. He knows the team is fractured, he knows Argus is 10 steps ahead. And he knows Keith's vengeance isn't just a personal grudge, it's a ticking time bomb. His blunt honesty with Adebayo isn't just tough love anymore, it's survival. He's trying to wake them up before it's too late. And the way he positions himself here makes you wonder if he's the only one capable of holding this group together. But even then, Judah Master's loyalty isn't guaranteed. He's never been fully Team Peacemaker, he's always walked his own line. And in a world where betrayal is currency, that makes him just as dangerous as anyone else. Ikonomos continues to be the quiet tragedy. The way he drifts into the background, the way his body language screams defeat, it's heartbreaking. You can tell he knows he's not cut out for this fight. And the writers are leaning hard into that. Every line he delivers feels like foreshadowing. He's the guy who's probably going to die so the others can live, and you can feel it coming. What makes it hurt worse is that he knows it too. You can see it in his eyes, the resignation, the acceptance. And that makes him one of the most suspenseful characters to watch. Because every time he's on screen, you're waiting for the moment the hammer drops. By the end of this section, the team is more fractured than ever. Argus is closing in, Keith is playing his own twisted game. And the so-called heroes can't even trust each other. And that's the brilliance of episode 7. It doesn't just set up the finale as a showdown between good and evil. It sets it up as a collapse. A collapse of loyalty, a collapse of trust, a collapse of family. And in the middle of it all stands Peacemaker, the man who wanted peace at any cost. Finally realizing that the cost might be everyone he's ever cared about. Because here's the truth this episode drives home, peace was never the prize. Peace was always the illusion. And when that illusion shatters, all that's left is war. By the time episode 7 closes out, it feels less like the end of an episode and more like the opening act of a war no one's ready for. Everything that's been boiling under the surface, the paranoia, the betrayal, the revenge, finally comes to a head. And the genius of this section is that it doesn't give you clarity. It doesn't give you comfort. It gives you questions, it gives you dread. And it leaves you desperate to see how episode 8 could possibly untangle this mess. The first gut punch comes when Peacemaker finally realizes the truth about his role. He isn't just a soldier, he isn't just a clown cracking jokes in a costume. He's the weapon everyone wants to control. Argus, Keith, even his own teammates are circling him like vultures, waiting to claim his power. The pocket dimension isn't just some shiny key or throwaway gadget anymore. Episode 7 makes it clear. Whoever controls that dimension controls the fate of all 99 universes. And Peacemaker, broken and confused as he is the one carrying it. That weight crushes him. You can see it in his silence, in the way he stops joking for once. In the way he looks at Eagly like even his bird can't save him anymore. It's not just guilt eating at him now. It's the realization that his very existence might doom everyone else. But what makes this section so powerful is that the show doesn't just frame Peacemaker as the victim. It forces him to face the reality that he created this mess. His brother's rage, his team's distrust, the chaos spinning out of control. It all comes back to him. And the cruel twist? There's no easy redemption. There's no heroic speech that fixes everything. The show is telling us straight up, sometimes you don't get to make things right. Sometimes you just drown in the consequences. Meanwhile, Keith cements himself as the true monster of this season. His survival wasn't just a shocking twist. It was the final nail in Peacemaker's coffin. Episode 7 makes it brutally clear, Keith doesn't want forgiveness, he doesn't want peace. He doesn't even want justice. He wants Peacemaker's soul crushed. And the way he moves, the way he aligns himself with Argus's enemies, the way his eyes burn with hatred, it's terrifying. He's not just Peacemaker's brother anymore. He's his executioner. And the sickest part? He wants Peacemaker to know it's coming. He wants him to feel that fear, that helplessness before he finally strikes. That's not just revenge, that's cruelty on a level we haven't seen from anyone else this season. Vigilante, on the other hand, is unraveling faster than ever. His loyalty, the one thing that defined him, feels like it's hanging by a thread. Episode 7 pushes him to a place where you can't tell if he's going to save Peacemaker or stab him in the back. And that unpredictability keeps you on edge. Because deep down, you know the finale won't let everyone walk away. And if someone's going to snap, if someone's going to take a fatal misstep, Vigilante feels like the obvious candidate. Whether it's dying for Peacemaker or betraying him in the worst way possible. Episode 8 is clearly lining him up for a breaking point. Adebayo's spiral only deepens here. The weight of her lies, her mother's shadow, her own insecurities, it all comes crashing down. She's desperate for purpose, desperate for validation, and that desperation makes her reckless. The way she looks at Peacemaker, the way she hesitates in moments where hesitation could mean death. The way she questions herself, it all screams disaster. And in a finale where trust is already shattered, one wrong move from her could mean the end for everyone. Judah Master continues to be the lone voice of brutal honesty. He doesn't sugarcoat, he doesn't play games, he just calls it like he sees it. And the way he slices through the team's excuses in this section is brutal but necessary. He's the only one who seems to understand the stakes. But his honesty also makes him dangerous. Because in a world where everyone else is lying to themselves, the truth is the sharpest weapon. And Judah Master's truth cuts deep enough to wound Economos, meanwhile. Feels like the ticking clock of the season. Every time he shows up, you're waiting for the inevitable. Episode 7 paints him like the sacrificial lamb. The one who's going to take the fall so the others can survive. And the tragedy is that he seems to know it too. The way he looks at Peacemaker, the way he avoids conflict, the way he shrinks into the background. It's all foreshadowing. And you can't shake the feeling that his death is going to be the emotional gut punch that shatters what little hope the team has left.